Hey guys, welcome to the studio and come on in. This video is kind of inspired and prompted by a post I read in the Cakewalk forums today. And the guy was obviously frustrated and he was going, what's the deal? How hard is it to really learn these programs? He was just struggling getting drum maps, templates, and just getting his virtual synthesizers to sound and all around just kind of having a tough time. He was going, what's the deal? Is it just me? And of course, a couple of people piped in and said, yeah, it's just you. And then some people say, it doesn't take hours to learn this stuff. It takes weeks. And another guy said, hey, it takes 30 years to learn this stuff. I've been doing it for 30 years. And let me just talk about what I think, how long it really takes to do something. First of all, granted, we're in a society that we want immediate results. We want something that sounds good right out of the gate. And for some people, I think that's why using loops and pre-recorded stuff and backing tracks and that sort of stuff that you can purchase or MIDI tracks or that sort of thing, and even with these drum programs, and I fall victim to that. You're able to get something that sounds really good right off the bat. Some programs like Omnisphere, if you've ever heard that, the program just sounds awesome. And so I think we're really fortunate to have some of the stuff that's so easy to create stuff that sounds good. Now, I'm going to repeat this. I repeat this about every 15 videos. You got to use your ears. And so that's the main trick. If it's starting to sound bad, your ears need to pick up on that. And so you really need to know what sounds good. You really need to train your ears. And that just takes listening and listening and listening to the stuff that sounds good. It may not be some of your favorite stuff, but, listen to some of the stuff that that is recorded really well. Now, doing some of the stuff, I think, as far as how long it takes to be a good recording engineer, producer, you can equate this with being a musician. How long does it take to become a good guitar player? Well, I've heard guitar players that studied really hard. I went to Berklee School of Music, and some of these guys came in and they were pretty lousy right off the bat. But after a couple of years and practicing 8-10 hours a day, these guys became some monsters. Where I know a lot of players that have played for 20 or 30 years and they're really still not that great of a player because they're playing the same old licks and they're not really effectively practicing. And I think it's the same way with becoming a good recording engineer. If you fall into something that you can do easily, we tend to do that because that's the way we take the easy road, so to speak. But I think if you take a program, and I like to use Cakewalk Sonar, I repeat that a lot. But if you take a feature of that and work on it, maybe spend a weekend and learn how to do some comping, or learn how to dig into one of the virtual synthesizers, or learn how to really create good MIDI tracks, or learn how to use Melodyne, or learn how to use Audio Snap, or the list goes on, and there's a lot of tutorials on that. And I don't really get into the in-depth tutorials so much because I think a lot of people do them very well, and there's plenty of them already out there. But I'm trying to give some good advice and hopefully get you guys heading in a good direction. But dig into something like this. So after you spend a weekend learning how to do vocal comping and Sonar, you're gonna have that in your bag of tricks. And here we are. Say 6 months later, and you're going to have a whole new set of skills that you didn't have, and you really have done some effective practicing becoming a recording engineer. And of course, we know there's other aspects to it, how to mic, good mic placement, and how just moving a mic just an inch or two can really affect the sound. There's other things that can really, just having your instrument sounding great to begin with. What goes into the mic. So learning how to have your instruments set up and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of avenues that you really can delve out into. Now, all that said, I'm going to say there's an awful lot of Cakewalk sonar that I do not know how to use. And I frankly, I'm not going to really probably go down that route and learn some of that stuff because the program is so deep. There's a lot of things with the synthesizers, and I've had some great hardware synthesizers that I know that I only just scratched the surface of the synthesizer and probably only used about 15-20% as a guess of the features. And I'm probably that way actually with Cakewalk. There's no need for me to know 100% of it, but it is good to learn some of the shortcuts and as far as key bindings and learn how to do some of these things that I'm talking about, some of the features in it, because once you do that, you'll be able to really have a lot more tools in your arsenal and be able to really work on getting a better polished product. I can ramble on and on about this, and I want to keep this video short, but some people, like I say, they're going to have a quick learning curve, and don't be intimidated by those people. I learned walking through the halls at Berklee. I thought I was a pretty good guitar player, but after a couple of weeks there, I learned, boy, there's some guys that are just totally awesome. But you don't let that intimidate you. Use that as a motivation, and you find your own niche. The same with recording. Find your own niche. Same with songwriting. Don't try to be the next Eddie Van Halen unless that's really what you want to be. But Eddie already exists. So find your own niche. Find your own niche in recording, and be creative. Learn to experiment, and you're gonna find that after doing this kind of stuff for a while, you're gonna be amazed at where you're gonna look back a year or two and go, boy, I've really learned a lot. But like I say, after a couple of weeks, if you're still struggling, that's normal. When I first got into computer recording, I dove into it and jumped in both feet, and it took a while to get comfortable. But this program Sonar translates a lot. Translates very well to a lot of other programs. So I was able to try out some other programs like Reaper and the freebie programs like Audacity. They're a cinch to use because they're basically the basic forms of what I'm using now. But give yourself a couple of years. I wasn't a great guitar player the first year I played, and I've been playing for a long time, probably 40, 50 years now playing guitar. But, I think I'm a decent guitar player, but I'm certainly not a great guitar player when you really compare it to yourself, to the chops of some other people. But, I've been recording just as long, so consider that. So give yourself a couple weeks, then give yourself a couple years, and then 10 years down the line, look back, you ought to be pretty well established at what you're doing and feel comfortable with that. But any rate, thanks for the ramble, and or let me ramble, and hopefully I made some sense. But again, thanks for watching the video. Remember to subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video. Right, guys? Check you out later.